Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Dale Myers with Vision Advanced. Today we're going to talk about fighting frustration. There are times in our lives where we're frustrated by often lack of progress, people in our lives, just so many things that we're dealing with, fighting frustration. And I'm going to focus on fighting frustration due to lack of progress. We're not achieving the things that we would like to achieve. We're not reaching some critical goals or just some things that are of value to us. And we're frustrated despite our best efforts. We're not hitting those marks. This could be because you simply have not put things in place. This could be because you don't have a well thought out and planned goal orientation process. And we talked about that in a couple of videos, and I'll include a couple of links before. And on that note, we're actually going to do a goal setting series where we're going to lay out lots of different things. So stay tuned for that. But frustration can also come from you had been working a plan, but you stopped. When you had built up some good habit, but you stopped. Sometimes you heard the expression, life gets in the way. You got so much going on. I mean, you're working, you're getting things done, but then something in life happens and it throws you off course. I've also heard it said that, well, no, life doesn't get in the way. Life is the way. And I do believe that. Some would say don't make excuses. I agree. However, there are excuses and there are explanations. Sometimes life literally just, despite your best efforts, it's just a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind. And during that time, you can't be as meticulous as you otherwise might want to. You know that your performance is going to fall off some. You're just trying to keep this thing afloat, but it can be frustrating. Being candid here, and I've talked about this before, a year and a half ago, I identified that one of my areas of weakness was that I didn't have a plan for goal orientation. While yes, I've done lots of things. I've run multiple businesses, done a lot in corporate America, a lot in the public educational system, but I still had not hit some targets that were of value to me. Because again, my bar isn't here. My bar is up here. I'm fighting against the best version of myself. And so I had to start asking these uncomfortable questions about how come I haven't hit these targets. Are people smarter than me? Probably not. Are they working harder than me? Probably not. So what am I doing wrong? And one of the things that I was not doing was following a clear goal orientation process. So I set about listening to audio tapes, reading books, watching videos, paid for professional services for coaching in that arena. And now my life is blossoming in that area. I am, again, this time I'll make 2 to 3 times more than I've made in my life this year. And it's not all about money, but because I'm becoming better at the things I'm executing, I'm seeing that financial benefit. Having said all of that, this year as a family, we've endured some things. My wife recently lost her only brother, and that's, it's something that we're dealing with. And on top of that, then within the next month and a half, we relocated back to the Atlanta area. Well, when you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with loss, and again, it's my spouse, and so obviously that's affecting our household dynamics, which means it's affecting me personally, which means it's also affecting my output as an individual and therefore my business. No excuses. Job still got to get done, but this is reality. Dealing with the move, getting back to Atlanta, again, you guys, if you've moved before, you know what I'm talking about, right? Packing up one house, doing all that stuff, moving to another. All of these things get in the way of high productivity. And what happened in my instance, the frustration was I reverted back to the old habits. See, I got to the point where all the things that I tell you that you guys should do, I got to the point where I wasn't doing it consistently over the last month and a half or so. Because, again, just hectic. Not that I wasn't doing it, but habits are about consistency. So for the first 30, 40 years of my life, I didn't have this process. So I had a bunch of bad habits. And over the last year and a half, I learned these things that are necessary and vital to my continued success. And then I implemented them and I built up the good habits. But during the time of crises, the bad habits came back. I wasn't doing the daily musts, the critical things. I'm human, you're human. This happens. It led to frustration in me because I know what I ought to be doing, but there wasn't enough time. No excuses. But I have to deal with the reality. You have to deal with that reality. So this is how do we approach situations like that? First, we have to give ourselves permission. Permission to be human, permission to fail, permission to make mistakes. So you might say, give yourself some grace. You're not absolving yourself of the need to improve, but you're saying, I'm human for this point in time. Okay, I made a mistake. I was far from perfect. I was not the man, the woman of excellence that I am aspiring to be. But then also acknowledge. So this is actually what we're working from. Permission. Number 2 is acknowledge. Acknowledge that while you were not perfect, you still made progress and that you still fought your way through this challenge. Whatever the challenge was, whatever the challenges were. Some of you are, well, we're all either in a crisis or coming out of one, but the point is acknowledge that you did make some progress, but also acknowledge that we have to get better. So we gave ourselves permission to be human, but acknowledge the necessity of improving, getting back to where we need to be. And then the third thing becomes, now how do we take corrective action? Back to basics. Get back into doing the things that you were doing. Get back into habits of getting up early in the morning, 2 to 3 hours before you normally would. Get something done. Eat that frog, as Brian Tracy would say. Get that big thing out of the way. The ugly thing that you really don't want to do that early in the morning, and your day just got off to a great start, because no matter what, you know you accomplished something huge. Give yourself the positive momentum that comes from having big wins. I call that my first focus. Focus on something awesome and huge early in the day to get your day off to some positive momentum. That's the corrective action. Follow your goal setting process. This is what we're talking about here. Return, reestablish, or establish the patterns that you had been doing. So all of that, these here were kind of linked together. Return to doing what you need to do. If you haven't been doing, if you're the person that's just been frustrated, and you need to establish these habits. You need to identify the core 1 or 2 skills I need to acquire, or the core 1 or 2 things I need to be doing to move my life forward, and work on those early in the morning. Now, you might work on them all day, but you get started early in the morning. Get your butt up. That's a general rule. The reality of it is, if you work overnight, and it's not in the morning, but the point is, get it done as soon as you wake up. Make the time to get it done. And this last thing, habits. Actually, let me go back 1 second. See, I wrote this note, physical versus digital. Part of setting a clearly defined goal setting process is writing it down. I do use the Google Calendar, the digital reminders, but I also write things down, because there is something unique to writing something down in terms of the connections between the neurons in your brain. They fire differently. When the body is moving, writing is moving, and thinking, writing and thinking at the same time. Not just thinking, but writing and thinking, it stores the information differently. It rewires your synapses. So now, some of you are just all digital. That can work to a point. But again, research is clearly showing there are several advantages to writing. So I use both. I write everything down. I write all of my huge things down, and then I use my calendar as a digital reminder. So I may have it written in the physical calendar, but I not only set alarms, but I put things in my digital calendar to remind me to do certain things. Because guys, none of us can keep all of that information up here. And I've tried. And those of you who are doing it, just know that you are short-circuiting your effectiveness because you're storing unnecessary information here. Free your brain up to focus on higher level tasks. Remembering to do something is not a high level task. Set a simple reminder and go. All right. And this leads to habits. In order to really break this thing, you have to build a habit, which means you have to do this at least 3 weeks consistently. Research has shown it takes 21 days to institute a new habit. So in order for you to make this thing a part of you, to ingrain it within your mental, within your psychology, your psyche, 21 days, 3 weeks of doing the daily disciplines, the daily musts. This is how you fight frustration. Give yourself permission to fail. Give yourself some grace. Acknowledge that you're human. Acknowledge that you make some mistakes, but you also push through. Continue to acknowledge that you need to get better. You must improve. Take corrective action to improve. That's the goal setting, the goal orientation, identifying the problems, the workarounds. If the situation, if you're still in it, how can I work around? What needs to happen so that I can, in fact, squeeze out stuff? And by the way, this might mean you need to drop some stuff. Sometimes we need the mental escapes from Netflix and Amazon Prime or Hulu, but that is not 3 hours a day. All right? Return or reestablish those habits 21 days at least. Push through this period of your life. Push through. That's all we do. We're not perfect. We are imperfect beings, but we are doing the things that are necessary to improve our lives, the lives of our family members, and the communities around us. I hope that you found this information helpful. Please leave a comment below. What's the frustrating thing? Maybe some of us can help you with that. What are you dealing with? What kind of help do you need in terms of solving this problem? My name is Dale Myers with Vision Advance. Please thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Take care.